Cronkite News starts now.
Welcome to this Cronkite News Update. I'm Caitlin Keenahan. Last night marked the fourth straight night that protesters hit the streets of downtown Phoenix. They were not only angered by the death of George Floyd, who died last week in the custody of Minneapolis police, but they were also marching for answers in the death of 28-year-old Deon Johnson. He was killed here in Phoenix last week. Investigators say Johnson was shot and killed by a DPS trooper after a struggle, but say no video exists. Crowds gathered at two different locations Sunday night, despite Governor Ducey's statewide curfew going into effect at 8 p.m. By 8:30, police deemed the protests unlawful assemblies, and around 9 p.m. things started to escalate. Some protesters began throwing objects at cops, and officers responded by firing tear gas into the crowd. Officers also used flashbang grenades to disperse the crowd shortly after 10. Phoenix police say that more than 100 people were arrested. It was a much different scene the night before, when protesters began looting and vandalizing parts of Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall. Some people smashed windows at stores including Neiman Marcus and Urban Outfitters, grabbing goods and damaging buildings. Cronkite News talked with several people today, some who took part in the protests and others who reflected on the impact this has had on the community and what needs to happen moving forward. Here they are in their own words.
I've grown up with this idea that, police brutality exists. I've known that for a very long time, and I've been passionate about the fact that Black Lives Matter, that the police should not be getting away with the murder of people. So I've known that. But this week, the energy is different, and I feel very passionate about the fact that I don't want to sit on the sidelines.
I think it's really important, especially as a non-Black person, to not do anything to make the movement worse and reflect badly on people who are fighting for basic rights. So I spend a lot of time making sure that the protest is being held by legitimate groups.
We need empathy from other populations in order for this problem to end. So it's not just with the Black students, and I do have Black students on my team or Black student athletes on my team, but it's with every student, because again, those kids are going to grow up to be leaders of our society, and they're going to be policy makers, decision makers. And, we want those kids to understand and have empathy as well.
We are very, very hopeful that what we will see going forward is transformation of our leadership. We have to have leadership at all levels. And one of the key skills and characteristics of a leader during this time right now is going to be courage. And that courage to speak out, that courage to look for change, that courage to force our police leadership, those federations, those unions, those individuals that make decisions, to say we've got to change how we hire, how we train, and also how we look at people of color in our communities. Lives have value. All lives have value. Black lives have value. Brown lives have value. We just need to make sure that people realize that we're in this together.
Right now, several local governments and law enforcement agencies in Arizona are taking to social media, saying they will not enforce the statewide curfew. The Holbrook Police Department issued a statement saying, quote, "While they respect the office of the governor, they have not seen riots like other areas of the country, and they feel as if enforcing a curfew would have a negative impact on their city." They went on to say, quote, "We as a department respect the constitutional rights of our citizens and will not infringe upon these God-given rights." Other rural areas taking this stance include Payson, Show Low, Williams, Winslow, Cottonwood, and Prescott. So what is allowed and what's not during curfew hours? Cronkite News reporter Madison Atkinson joins us now to explain.
Governor Doug Ducey declared a statewide curfew until June 8th. Here are the guidelines you need to know about the curfew. Citizens are not allowed to gather in public places or streets from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. The curfew applies to all forms of travel, from vehicles and public transportation to bikes and on foot. The restriction went into effect May 31st and will last until the morning of June 8th. However, there are exceptions. People are allowed to travel for work, obtain food, and to care for family, friends, and animals. People can leave to attend religious services and to seek medical care. Emergency response personnel and credentialed media are allowed to continue to work during the curfew. Madison Atkinson, Cronkite News.
So we want to hear from you now. What do you think of the curfew? According to our Cronkite News Twitter poll, about 15% of you say you support it, but about 33% believe towns should make their own choice, and 43% of you say there should not be a curfew in Arizona. Also developing now, the total number of COVID-19 cases in our state has surpassed 20,000. As of this morning, Arizona health officials confirmed 187 additional coronavirus cases, with 11 more known deaths. That brings the total number of cases statewide to 20,123, and the total number of deaths to 917. The increases are being reported in the wake of increased testing and some lockdown orders being lifted. Governor Ducey has said Arizona's healthcare system can care for any virus patients and has enough hospital beds and ventilators available. Because of the pandemic, Phoenix's Sky Harbor Airport has declared that masks will be made mandatory at the airport starting today, June 1st. Jay Coulter has the details on what to expect if you plan to fly this summer.
Starting on June 1st, Phoenix's Sky Harbor Airport will be requiring all employees and members of the public that enter any airport facility to wear a face covering. This includes the terminal, the rental car center, the SkyTrain, and airport buses. Sky Harbor is following the precedent set by other major airports across the country who have already implemented these measures, such as LAX, Denver, JFK, and Miami. This rule is also in line with all the major U.S. airlines, as well as popular rideshare services Uber and Lyft.
It doesn't need to be a commercially purchased face covering. They can make a homemade one. We actually have a link to the CDC's website, which includes instructions on how to create and wear a face covering, and that's on our website. And many of our shops, both pre and post security, are also selling face coverings.
According to Heather Shelbrack, spokesperson for the airport, if someone is spotted without a face covering, airport security will approach them and remind them of the rule and may point them in the direction of a shop selling face coverings if necessary. Shelbrack also says there will be increased cleaning in common areas, plexiglass barriers have been installed, and there are more hand sanitizing stations and posted signs encouraging social distancing. Jay Coulter, Cronkite News.
The face covering rule will be in effect until further notice, and Sky Harbor urges customers to consult their website at skyharbor.com for updates and answers to any other questions. That's it for this edition of Cronkite News. For Arizona news updates throughout the day, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and find us online at cronkitenews.azpps.org.